Hey, Leo Dreger here. I'm sure you've all connected by now on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitter. I want to cover a tool called System Information for Windows. I like this tool because it's a very, very detailed, oriented tool that you can run against operating systems to collect all sorts of reconnaissance and enumeration. It kind of just, if ask me any question about it. After running this tool, I should be able to answer it. Okay, so I'm going to run down the list of things that this queries. Sometimes the queries can take a little bit, but nothing more than I wouldn't go get coffee. I would just wait for the query to run. So it's relatively short in the grand scheme of things, right? So you can click on operating systems. You can look at some of the updates. You could immediately connect in here and say, hey, what are the installed updates on the computer? What are the missing updates in the computer? And anytime you're using some sort of inventorying system, whether it be Tivoli or, I mean, whatever, right? Just some sort of, I will need to know every host on the network and what does it look like, and give me a status. These questions up until recently were very, very, very hard to answer in the grand scheme of things. You just couldn't ask a question like, are we secure? Are our computers up to date, right? Just because there's so much missing information in conventional reports that you'll never, your whatever answer you come up with is only a percentage of accuracy of realistically how close you think you are, right? So nonetheless, we can go into the software. You can get to updates. You can see the missing updates. That's fine if this connects to Microsoft.com. I'm not going to run the specific report on this just because there's way too many other things to cover. You can quick grab system directories. So any program that's basically in here, as soon as you type it at the command prompt or PowerShell, it's more or less going to run. Because these are all environmental variable set. Plus, they can map over here to registry keys, which is just, Explorer's shell folders. That's pretty uncommon. So it's a shell folder and it's a shell variable that sets it. Any sort of system files, what directories these are located in, and some examples and details of each one of these, like what's in this file, what's in this file, what's in the host file, so that way you don't have to go navigate all the way to the file through the file directory and grab the host. So the fact that this just tells you saves you clicks, and clicks makes you faster and much more efficient as anybody who has to answer questions for a living. You have lmhost, not that that's really used too much anymore. You got MS-DOS, you got the system INI file, all the items in there, the WinINI file, MS-DOS.sys. You can grab installed programs, so you can get a quick shot of what's installed instead of going to Windows Update and seeing what Windows programs are installed. Just go right here. Publisher, the version, the date, the key for it if it's set, different applications. If you like doing some application reconnaissance, I mean, just pick something, anything in here. DirectX, look at all the properties and the values. Google Chrome, properties and values. .NET Framework, properties and values. SMAC, properties and values, right? So lots of stuff. You want to grab security settings testing. You want to go get a quick vulnerability scan. Antivirus, is it set? Is auto updates set? Is it, anti-spyware? What's the condition, the values? Are the firewall rules even set on? Or does it have antivirus software? Or is it using Windows Defender for spyware? And even here, I love this button here, licensing. I'm not going to show it to you for hopefully obvious reasons here, but the actual licensing piece, it tells you all of the license, and you can write them down. So if it does you a quick little license inventory, which is worth 1,000 seconds in itself. Accessibility options and which specific ones are set. So this reminds me of looking at group policy, detail specific settings. Environmental variables and what they are and what they're set for. Regional settings, if you go into this a lot and you work a lot with time zones or locations or geolocations or changes in keyboard layouts or currency. File associations. This is nothing more than going to Windows and right-clicking and going to the file extensions. You should all know how to do that by now, and so that way you can change a file extension when you need to. One thing I love about a tab like this is most often us network people know the inside OSI model inside and out, but nobody ever really has a great example of layer 6 of the presentation layer. This is it, folks. This is where you make the associations. Okay, to determine what layer 7 application actually opens it. But this is directly interfacing with layer 6 of the OSI model, file association. So those of you that have studied the OSI model in the past, please note, boom, big list, all extensions. Any one of these are fair game. What running processes are on the system? What loaded DLLs, what drivers, what NT services, what auto run features, what scheduled tasks are, what databases. I mean, it just goes on and on and on and on. So let's just call that section, okay, cool, nice software overview. Now let's go to emulated hardware, okay? So in this case, I'm able to pull virtual machine settings, motherboard information, anybody who has an A plus background, right? Watch some of the A plus videos. Anthony did a phenomenal job with those. Go ahead and look at all this stuff. You got BIOS settings, CPU settings, memory settings. This is where geeks get to geek out. PCI settings, storage devices, what ports. If you're kind of starting to get, and not networking ports, this would be hardware ports because it's under hardware. But networking ports, all your predefined settings, okay? Power policies. Can you, from an attacking point of view, can I, attack this system and maybe change a setting like this and force it to shut down, therefore causing a denial of service attack? What are the battery settings, printers, resources, okay? All right, so that'll give you the overview of hardware. I'm going to leave some things clearly off the table here, but I want you to go play with them and you evaluate them and you have a takeaway, right? Because, active learning means doing. So it's one thing to watch me. It's another thing to go do it yourself. And that's the difference between talk the talk and walk the walk. Okay, neighborhood scan, open ports on the system, the different shares. So this should look familiar. It should look like you just did a net share at the command prompt, and that's what you would get. Or, hey, you could easily net share. Okay, look familiar? Well, I think so. Remote access connections, if there are any. Other networking sections like a browsing network neighborhood directly built in. And yes, I have a computer named Obi-Wan Kenobi. And search network neighborhood, right? FTP scans. So it's got a built-in scanner to it. So this is, you want to learn certified ethical hacking? Bam, here you go. Okay. It's just way too much detail. This is stuff that you guys have to look at, evaluate. It's got a built-in network and traffic monitor to it. You want to sit there and watch traffic? Go download something just for the sake of seeing some traffic here, download the combination, boom, let that go, see it spike. This is how you learn. This is how you test things out, right? Use the tools. All I can do is give you an overview of the tool. You have to evaluate the tool yourself and go, okay, and make the relationships, and that's how you're going to master this learning. So stick with me. I've got, a couple hundred more videos left to do.